The world is watching Gaza starve, but no one's asking the one question that actually matters: who's stopping the food from reaching the people? Because it's not Israel. For months now, Israel has been sending trucks loaded with aid, flour, baby formula, cooking gas, clean water, despite those very same people being ruled by a terror group that butchered Israeli citizens just months ago. According to COGAT, the Israeli agency coordinating aid, over 18,000 aid trucks have crossed into Gaza recently. And yet somehow the story that reaches global headlines is a famine, not food. What isn't shown are the videos of Hamas operatives intercepting aid convoys, looting UN trucks, hoarding supplies, or selling them on the black market at extortionate rates. What doesn't make it to the front page is the fact that Hamas has not just hijacked Gaza's politics, it's hijacked its survival. Ask anyone on the ground who isn't terrified of Hamas retaliation, and they'll tell you aid doesn't reach ordinary civilians because Hamas steals it first. Fuel that could run hospitals gets diverted to rocket factories or commanders' safe houses. Food disappears, then reappears in Hamas-controlled markets for a price the average Gazan can't afford. And when the United Nations is confronted with this, what does it do? It stays quiet. UNRW, the agency that should have been holding Hamas accountable, has turned into a passive witness. Some of its own facilities used to store weapons, some of its employees even accused of participating in the October 7 massacre. But rather than investigate Hamas, the UN repeats the same tired script. Blame Israel, condemn the blockade, call for restraint, all while ignoring the monster in the room, the one openly using its own civilians as human shields and its own children as bargaining chips. It's a script that becomes even harder to tolerate when you remember the hostages, like Evanthar David, still held somewhere inside Gaza. He isn't just a missing person, he's a son, a brother, a citizen, and he's being starved too. Former hostages who were lucky enough to be released have described days without food, surviving on dry bread or nothing at all. No sunlight, no medical care. Some of them returned home with visible weight loss, untreated infections, trauma so severe they could barely speak. Yet the world that cries for Gaza's children somehow forgets Israel's. It forgets the families waiting months for proof of life, forgets the footage of toddlers dragged across the border on October 7, forgets that while Gaza's hunger is heartbreaking, Israel's grief is silent and ongoing. So yes, Israel strikes back. Because how else do you bring your people home when they're being kept underground like animals? How else do you stop a group that doesn't just fight from civilian neighborhoods, it stores its missiles under hospitals? This isn't a conventional war. This is a hostage crisis stretched across a city of 2 million, where every apartment could be a trap, every aid shipment could be repurposed into weapons, and every pause in fighting is a chance for Hamas to regroup. And despite that, Israel still opens the crossings, still clears convoys, still gets blamed. The idea that Israel is starving Gaza is not just wrong, it's a lie that lets Hamas off the hook. Gaza is starving because the group that rules it wants chaos more than food, hostages more than peace, and power more than anything else. And the UN, by refusing to call that out, becomes complicit. In this war, Israel doesn't just fight for its borders, it fights to bring its citizens home. And until the world recognizes that, the conversation around Gaza's hunger will remain dangerously incomplete.